This is my journey into discovering new metal bands, and today we're in the country of Spain. This is part two. Now, when I do part two, I usually use all the bands that people send me in the comments. So the first episode is usually just bands I do from a Google search, and the second episode are your bands that you sent to me. First one is called Retador, and the album is called Irandel. They're new. If you know Hector from the Chill Dude on the Couch reviews, he sent me a message and he said, check this out. This is an album that just came out. It came out January 21st, 2025. And they're a new band. They formed in 2020. They're a thrash metal band. But it's thrash where it's old school thrash, but they have a lot of different sounds. They experiment a little. That's what I'm trying to say. So basically we have some nice tracks here. The opening track, Irandel, I like that one a lot. It has a soft arpeggiated intro, but then it goes into this fast thrash with the lead guitar playing. Vocals are similar to black metal, and there are melodic sections in the middle of the song, but there were some other songs that I liked. For example, Somos Eternos with some fast-paced old school thrash with the heavy and chunky riffs. Another song I liked called Asesino that had those buzzsaw guitars and the mosh parts. And also had the quiet parts with the clean guitars. Now, I always like that with thrash bands. I always like these quiet parts. And just lots of great songs. I like this one a lot. It's new. They just came out. And I definitely recommend you check them out because it's a new band. They don't really get a lot of attention. The next band I have is a classic, probably like the most classic band from Spain. Or in other words, I would say they are to Spain as Scorpions is to Germany. Like, that's how classic they are. The band is Baron Rojo, which means the Red Baron. And the album I listened to is called Long Live Rock and Roll, which is in Spanish, Larga Vida al Rock and Roll. This was released on April 27, 1981. They play classic heavy metal hard rock. So this is there's lots of different influences here. So the first track I listened to was called Con Botas Sucias. This one reminded me a lot of AC/DC, had that type of sound. The next track I listened to, Ande Suelto Satanás. This was more rock and roll style blues, reminded me of ZZ Top. El Pobre reminded me of classic rock, psychedelic rock. Los Desertores del Rock, more of that classic rock, hard rock sound, and other great songs. I like the other song that sounded like AC/DC called Chica de la Ciudad. And the last song, which is self-titled, called Baron Rojo, which reminded me of The Who, kind of like a Baba O'Reilly type of vibe. That's what I got from it. It was more like classic rock with psychedelic rock. So definitely a classic band. It's one of the most important bands in the country. My next band is one that's a little less known, called Obús. And they came out around the same time, 1980. The album I listened to is called Preparate. That was released on October 26, 1981. It's their debut. Another one, which is a heavy metal and hard rock band, and their current label is Rock Estatal Records. So another one similar to Baron Rojo or Red Baron. A lot of these songs reminded me of bands like either Van Halen, Kiss, early Judas Priest, that type of music. So a couple good songs here. Va a estallar el Obús. This one reminded me a lot of like Van Halen's Eruption in the beginning, but the rest of the song was just hard rock with galloping rhythms. Another song I liked called Cayete, typical hard rock from the 70s, very similar to the band Kiss. And La Escalera, this was more reminiscent of early Judas Priest. And they have some other pretty cool song titles like Petrodólares, which is like the money used for oil, Pesadilla Nuclear, which is called Nuclear Nightmare. So that's pretty funny. And the last song, Solo Lo Hago Mi Moto, kind of reminded me of like Led Zeppelin. So definitely a pretty fun band. Now I have another band that's classic heavy metal, and they're called Evo, also formed in 1981, another heavy metal band. And I listened to their debut album called Animal de la Ciudad, or Animal in the City. This is another band very reminiscent of the same bands I just talked about. A lot of stuff reminiscent of Van Halen, AC/DC, Judas Priest, ZZ Top. So the songs I liked, the title track, Animal de Ciudad, very Van Halen-esque with a little bit of an AC/DC vibe. Retador sounds like 80s ZZ Top. Another one, As explotar tu volcán, which means make your volcano erupt. I guess that's what the best translation is. And I don't know if it's like a sexual thing, but that kind of made me laugh. That song title, but that one reminded me of classic heavy metal like Judas Priest. Then another one, Quien apretó el botón. That's more speed metal like Motorhead. So there's a lot of variety, and they ended with a power ballad called Maldita Soledad. So definitely another fun band if you like classic heavy metal. So this next band I have is a little more modern, and the name of the band is Golgotha, and the album I listened to is called Spreading the Wings of Hope. So they're a little more modern. They formed in 1992. They're melodic death doom. Kind of remind me of My Dying Bride, that type of band. The album I listened to was fairly new. It was released last year on June 14th, 2024. So this has male and female vocals. You got the female vocals that are clean, and you got the male vocals that are death growls. And you have a lot of atmospheric stuff, soft piano intros, heavy chugging riffs. Basically a lot of that type of music. So if you like bands like My Dying Bride, Catatonia, November, that type with the male and female vocals, it's like that. Some of the songs were slower, like Funeral Doom. There's one song, track number 5, Human Vultures. That's like a slower song. And then another song, track 8, Hope as Guide, had soft piano in the intro. It had that slower Funeral Doom pace, but with some bright keyboards. So it's a very like atmospheric death doom type of band. So pretty cool if you like that type of thing. So this is the part of the video where I'm going to tell you about a couple of thrash bands. The first band I have is Holycide. The album I listened to is Towards Idiocracy. And this is a newer band. They formed in 2004. They're one of those bands that write lyrics that are similar to like the thrash bands of like the old days. A lot of political lyrics about politics, nuclear destruction, violence and war, those types of things. They're on the Extreme Music label. And this album was released on June 6, 2024. And I actually reviewed it, part of my new metal releases series. So I did a short review, but I listened to it again. Now, you got to look at the song titles. We have song titles like AI Supremacy, Towards Idiocracy, Lies and New Truth. So a lot of those types of lyrics that are similar to the stuff that the classic thrash bands used to write about. Basically straightforward thrash, heavy galloping guitar riffs. Some songs had these slower, like Slayer type guitar riffs, like the song Lies and New Truth, as well as there was another song, the last song, Flamethrower M.O. That one had those slower, like Slayer, South of Heaven types of riffs. A lot of these were just heavy thrash, like the songs Power Corrupts, Technophobia, and Angry for Nothing, just heavy galloping guitar riffs. So I don't have much more to say about it. It's thrash. If you like thrash, check it out. Next band is also thrash, but with more elements of death metal and black metal. So they're called Vatican Spectrum. The album is called Satanic Mantra. And they released this album pretty recently, October 31st, 2024. One of those bands there, I don't know if it's supposed to be like very campy or if it's supposed to be satire, but it's kind of like the way Ghost has these very like satanic lyrics. So it's kind of like that, but it's also kind of like campy and cheesy. I mean, I just like looking at the song titles like track number 7, Call Me at 666 and things like that. But as for the music, it's basically lots of heavy thrash metal, but with a lot of death metal vibes. And there's also a lot of like black metal vibes as well. So for example, track number 2, The King of Thieves, definitely a lot of black metal on that one. Track 4, Satanic's Cry, more atmospheric thrash. That one reminded me of early Sepultura from their first album. Another one, The Dawn of Darkness. This one had the slow intro, the lead guitar melody in the intro. And that was actually a short instrumental. And the last one was pretty cool, called Where is Emanuela, which sounded more like black metal as opposed to thrash. So they had the blast beats and all that. So that was pretty cool. It's thrash metal, but it's like that blackened thrash. I guess that's what it is. Okay, I have another thrash metal band called Killdozer, and it's Seeds of Vengeance. And this is a band fairly new. They have one album. It was released on September 24th, 2021. And they have this album only had 7 tracks. The first one was just an instrumental, just a short instrumental. So it's kind of a short album. So we have track number 2, Killdozer's Hate, very fast-paced thrash metal. But this one has death metal vocals. So this is thrash leaning towards death metal, as opposed to like the black metal, which from the previous band, this is more thrash and death. So track 3, Deserve to Die, more slower paced, but had the galloping guitar riffs. Release from Suffering had the heavy chugging guitar riffs and had a solo, kind of reminded me of one of those like Kirk Hammett types of solos. Pretty cool. Then Left to Die, old school thrash sound. Another one with an instrumental with its Japanese name called Kamatsu, which is just one of those 6-minute instrumentals, had lots of dense riffs, more of a groove element. And Desecrate His Corpse, which had those slower, like Slayer style guitar riffs and just lots of changes. And the vocals in this one reminded me of either Chris Barnes or Corpse Grinder. So that's a pretty cool band. I have another thrash band, but more along the lines of speed metal, thrash, and heavy metal. So kind of a combination of those. The band is called Iron Curtain. The album is Savage Dawn. The album was released on February 23rd, 2024. And this band formed in 2007. And they've been active since 2007. So I listened to the most recent album, which came out last year in February. And this is a lot of like Motorhead type of music. It's a lot of like that bass guitar, fast galloping rhythms. A lot of it sounds like Motorhead, but other songs just sounds like, there was one song which had a Russian name, like Russian name 47. Kind of reminded me more of Iron Maiden, but a lot of songs have those bass guitar intros. Other songs like Tiger Speed had more old school thrash. And there was another song called Jericho Trumpet, had more classic speed metal with feedback driven guitar. So this is like classic speed metal, that type, with like going into thrash metal, that type of. I have one more band. This is more of a heavy metal band. The band is called Frenzy, and it's called, the album's called Of Hoods and Masks. They're fairly new. They formed in 2014. I listened to their most recent one, released on April 20th, 2023. So this one came out only about 2 years ago. They're on the Fighter Records label. And this is an interesting band because their main themes of their albums are about comic books. So a lot of these are based on comic books. I don't know exactly which ones because I haven't really read or collected comics in a very long time. And I'm talking like over 30 years. So, but they have lots of cool stuff here. They have 2 instrumentals, or actually 1 instrumental to open the album. Then we have a song like The Doomsday, fast-paced classic heavy metal. Where's a Joke? This is more like 80s heavy metal, more like Saxon. We have Spectre of Love, bluesy classic rock with heavy metal. Uncompromised, more like classic metal. A little bit of power metal. I was thinking along the lines of like early Queensryche, but with a glam metal feel. Then we have Betrayal and Cold Blood. This is more like classic rock, early Judas Priest sounding. And then Fear the Hood was more of a mid-paced rocker with a galloping sound. And then Give Me Shred or Give Me Death. It's just full fast-paced speed metal. Another one which is more like 80s Judas Priest. So those are all the bands I have. Again, comment some more bands if you want me to do a part 3. If not, I will be going into another country. My next country will probably be Canada. So lots of great bands there. And on my screen here is the first episode from Spain. So you can watch that one next if you didn't see it yet. I talk a lot of like Spanish heavy metal and power metal in that episode. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next one.